No, we've just been given a hello there from Michael, so thank
Well
you,
done.
Michael.
Hello, welcome everyone to this evening's webinar. As you know, look guys, we won't be no more than possibly 70 minutes, possibly a bit less than that. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please just use the chat function. Myself and my colleague Aidan will monitor them throughout, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can for you. So we hope you're looking forward to it. So what's, the coach education webinars, guys, just so you know, this is a part of a series of coach education webinars that we're doing currently. So as you see there, it's tonight's the 25th. We're looking at involving players in decision making. But look at all the other ones we've done. We've done team building, creating a positive coaching environment, pre-season, the return to the pitch, and how to be a coach on the sideline, which was delivered by Lee Morgan. And all of them are available to view on our LGFA YouTube channel. Please, guys, over the coming days, give a look at them when you get an opportunity. And as you see, we've more webinars coming up over the coming weeks. So look forward to engaging with those ones. So my own name is William Harmon, National Ladies Football Development Officer with a remit for coach education. I'm a Kerry man, but I'm a coach as well, and I'm also a parent. So I'm looking forward to delivering this webinar tonight with my colleague, Aidan McLaughlin. Aidan, do you want to say hello?
How are you doing, folks? Great. As well said at the start, we've nearly 200 on here now, so it's great to see huge numbers. Aidan McLaughlin here. We're very lucky up in Ulster. We've two development officers, so we're very lucky. I'm from County Derry, and I'm a coach and a parent and a player still as well for my sons.
Brilliant. So without further ado, Aidan, we might as well move on. And myself and Aidan will be interacting through. We'll try to make it as engaged as we can for you. So by the end of this webinar, you will be able to. So what will we hope you'll be able to do at the end of the webinar? Observe what good planning looks like, identify the importance of asking good questions. And this will all make sense because you're saying, how do we involve players? Hopefully all these areas will help you out. Recognize the role of the coach in assisting players transfer from training pitch to matches. So how do we get players to transfer what they learn on the training pitch and take ownership of match day in terms of decision making, and to try out a few activities to promote player ownership and taking ownership of their own learning. So we'll give you a few ideas as we go along regarding activities as well. So we're looking forward to that. So before we start though, Aidan, we'll start a poll. And if I was to ask, how many people have we on board tonight, Aidan? I'd say we're nearly 200, have we?
214 at the minute.
Okay, so if I was to ask people, if I was to ask people, and just see, can I get the poll up? Just bear with me. Right, I'm going to put up a poll. Which coaching style best describes you at this present time? So is it A, and be very honest now in this one. I think I'd like you to be honest here in terms of, is it A, your direct style and you like to control the activities, or is it B, facilitating guile? I'm going to launch the poll now. So I'm launching the poll. So if you see it there in front of you guys, is it A or B? So they're coming through. It's like, I definitely think it's like the polling station. Like, it's just fantastic to see. So they're coming through. Over 150 have voted. We're still waiting on a few more to come through. So do you direct and control activity, or do you guide and facilitate? So nearly 90% have voted. And Aidan, if you don't mind, Aidan, you might just log this for me as well. So 45%, Aidan, say that they direct and control. So 45% of the group tonight say their coaching style is direct and control activity, and 56% say that they guide and facilitate. Okay, so thank you very much for that, guys. That's great. We'll come back to that later on. So we move it on. We're looking at the research, Aidan, and I suppose, this is what, and it's interesting. So 55% of our audience tonight say they guide and they facilitate, which is fantastic to hear, isn't it? But research shows that around only 10% of coaching behaviors involve guiding and facilitating. And that's interesting. I don't know, Aidan, what's your thoughts on that statement? Would you ring true with the 55% that come true, or would you relate to what's on the screen?
William, I would always say I would have been part of that 55%, but I'm starting to think now, and I'm probably saying I would probably talk a bit too much maybe in my session. So I'm probably maybe directing a bit too much, I would think, at the minute. But what about yourself, William? What do you think you do? I think I've changed over to the other side.
Yeah,
here now.
I do what we'll do, Aidan. We'll go through the slides and maybe we'll reflect again after. So I want people just to reflect. And this is the idea about these webinars, guys. There's no one way to coach. And I think that's important. Hopefully these webinars will help you reflect on your own coaching behavior, your own coaching approach. If it informs what you're doing is the right thing, great, keep at it. And if there's one or two things you can improve on, then even better again. So look, Aidan, we'll come back to that one. It'll be very interesting to see what will be the story at the end of this session.
William, just sorry for interrupting there, just in the chat, William McCabe has just put in, does it depend on the age group?
Very good point, and we'll probably hit that later on. So maybe at the younger age groups, maybe the 6s and 8s, maybe the directing and guiding might be more appropriate. But we hold that thought, and we will be hitting that later on. William was his name, was it, Aidan? So we'll be back to him. We'll come back to that later on. Look, I'm just going to give you set the scene. So look, we've a plethora of coaching research done with, in particular in LGFA. And as you see in the screen, we've a lot of work done in the area Gated for Teens, with our intercounty underage, and with our development program. And basically what the players are saying to us, and this is important, let's set the scene now before we go into the nitty gritty in a minute. They're saying that they want to enjoy being involved in your coaching sessions. And what we mean by that is they want to try their best. They want to give it a right old go. They want to experience a positive coaching environment. They want to do things as a team and try their best to do their best with a team. So that's what they look like. And that's what fun looks like to them and being enjoyable. They want to experience that feeling that they're improving, developing as a player. And that's interesting. They want to experience feeling, improving, developing. So it looks like our players really focus on the process, Aidan. And that's interesting in terms of the guiding and the facilitating and where it comes into later on. And they value your connection, positive relationship with the coach. They really value your connection. They really value how you guide them and how you facilitate them to improve and develop as a player, to help them reach their own goals and their own achievements along their coaching journey. That's interesting. And then we look at this self-determination theory. Again, look what it's saying. The self-determination theory is about how our players, our people in general, motivated to grow and change. And they use these 3 innate universal psychological components or needs. Autonomy. Think about this now. Think about ladies football players. Think about your players. They want to have control or a role to play in their own learning. So if we're direct and controlling, or guiding and facilitating, which applies? They want to feel a competence. They want to feel that they're improving. They're getting better. I can do this. Which will help with that? Guiding and facilitating, or direct and controlling? They want this kind of to be relate. They want to relate to you. They want to have close relationships with their peers, their own player teammates, and also you as the coach. So the idea here is this whole idea of being self-determined. And let's go back to what we're talking about, decision makers. How can we make them better decision makers? How can we get players to think for themselves, to problem solve? But they need to be motivated. They need to enjoy what they're doing, and they need to be challenged. All this will come into play now later on, Aidan, when we come back to it shortly. But look here, then we look at these various theories that are going on. And what are they telling us? They're saying to us that players want to construct their own learning from understanding the knowledge through experience and reflection. So look what's coming out here. Experience, trying something, get their own understanding, and then reflecting through debate and talk and chat. Players thinking about their own learning. And so a lot of players come into your sessions, they know a lot about what they need to do, but how can we stretch them beyond that? And that's the key. But look what's coming up here. By doing and reflecting. To me, reflecting is talking, chatting, debate. And I just think it's something interesting that's going to come up later on. So what are we learning here? The importance of engaging and interacting with our players is a major influence. So listen to what Lee Morgan said last Monday night. You need to build relationships before you can start improving, developing players. Don't underestimate the power of that. The importance of stretching the player just beyond what they can achieve to increase their enthusiasm to learn. But how do we go about that? What is our role as a coach to bring them to that space? And players want to take their own ownership for their own learning. They want to achieve their own goals. How can we assist and facilitate that? So that's just something really that we just want to set the scene on those things. Aidan, I don't know, is there anything there that kind of comes across to you? But that's just setting the scene for the coaches here tonight before we go into the nitty gritty of the how.
No, I think the scene's been set there, William. I'm really looking forward to getting the next part now. As we discussed earlier on today, I think the coaches will get a lot out of it tonight. Just one thing, I didn't want to interrupt you there earlier on. You were on a roll. Ollie Higgins left a great point in here. Actually, says the role of some of us on here tonight is as an assistant to the head coach, so an assistant coach. So they do the directing and we do the facilitating and carry out their instructions, and that might account for some of the numbers in the poll at the start.
And what's her name, Aidan? What's her name again?
No, so Ollie Higgins.
Ollie, will you hold that thought? Because I think you made a great point and it's going to come up shortly. Well done. Well done. So what works? You're asking the question tonight. I know you're all asking what works. So how can we engage our players to improve their decision-making capacity and ability to do that? Okay, let's see, can we answer that, Aidan? We'll try our best. We'll try our best anyway. So planning. Think about this now. You're probably going, what? Planning? What do you mean by planning? Planning the learning climate. I'm going to throw up questions here now. I don't want answers, but just reflect on your own coaching currently. Do you know specifically what you want your players to get from a session? So if you're doing a session tomorrow morning or in a few weeks' time, do you know specifically what you're looking for? Do you know in your own mind what it could look like? So if you're doing, we'll be showing you games now in a few minutes, okay? Do you know in your own mind what that game could look like? What is it you see you as the coach doing? And what you see as a player doing? Throw in the chat function for the crack. Anybody who's at Liam Mongan's talk last Monday, throw in the chat there. What do you think? If I went to your sessions tonight or tomorrow night and I was to watch you coach, what do you think I should see you doing and what do you think I should see the players doing? Aidan, I'm going to put you on the spot. You tell me, if I was going to your session tomorrow night and I was to watch you coaching, as I put into the chat function, what do you think I should see you doing as a coach?
Yeah, first thing, I'd be delegating, William. Next thing, observing, taking feedback, analysing, planning, reviewing, facilitating, just going around, making sure I have a chat with each player before even the session begins as well, just to keep working on that rapport and developing that relationship with players as well. And
tell me, Aidan, so that's that's obviously you're very good, Aidan. Fair play to you. I think you're passing at the moment. But in terms of player Aidans, what would you see the players do you think? So if I was to walk into your session, what would your players be doing? While people, and throw them into the chat, guys, and you can interact with people in the chat as well. Aidan.
Because we're up in Ulster, William, we would just be practicing blanket defences. But no, performing the skills of the game, catching, kicking, tackling, blocking, decision making, leading, learning. I'm running out of things here, but those are all the things I would like to think you would see from my players if you came to watch one of my sessions.
So coaches tonight, think about this.
The answers are flying in here too, William. So.
Before we think about this, as a coach, you're observing, you're analysing, you're giving feedback. Wow. As players, they're kicking the ball, catching the ball, they're making decisions. How do we promote that? Okay, look at this now. Think about your own session now, guys. You're planning the learning climate. Okay, you have a visual of how it looks like. Now, do you know what possible challenges that could happen? Have you thought about how you will solve them or who will solve them? And have you thought about the questions you will start the conversation if there is challenges that you see the group that maybe they can't get the activity or they're finding it difficult to solve a scenario? If you want good answers, you need to answer good questions. Anderson, and I can't pronounce the second name. If you want good answers, you need to ask good questions and you need to write them down. But I'm throwing out you in your own mind, think about this. No matter what age group you coach, under sixes up to senior to county. I've coached under sixes at club level. I've coached under 12s. I've been involved at that level in club and also in county. Think about this, guys. Aidan, you don't mind me asking?
No.
I'm throwing those questions out today and I want people to reflect on these and their planning. And we'll show you a sample plan in a minute. But do you really think about these things? Or would you write them down even, Aidan?
I would think about them. I probably should write them down because coming up to training and planning sessions or when you're there's that many things going through your head. There's a million things going through your head. So I probably should write them down, but I would actively think of them in my head, but I definitely would need to start writing them down.
Yeah. I suppose what we're trying to do here, guys, is, if you think about something, you'll be able to adapt. Think about that now. If you think something through, you'll be able to adapt to whatever scenario is put in front of you on the training pitch. Think about players. If they think about what they're doing, then they'll be able to adapt and make better decisions. So it's very interesting in relation to the same. Okay, game-based approach. You're probably, everybody here tonight, I can guarantee you, heard of learning through game-based approach. I can guarantee you, because it develops the own learning of players, their experience, their reflection. It improves learning, reflection. It improves debate and conversation and the ability to adapt. However, the role of us as coaches play a key role in facilitating and guiding players in this process. So we'll show you later on, we've loads of games, but the role of the coach is the key to this. I don't know, Aidan, like, I presume you kind of come across this in your own experience. What is your experience of game-based approach, and what you probably see on in your own coaching experience? What happens in this scenario?
Before maybe I got speaking to coaches like you will, and I know Terence McWilliams, you would hear me mention his name a lot. Games is the way to go. But I probably just stood back and watched the games, whereas recently in the last few years, let the kids go and play. Have your game set up, know what you're looking for, and do your coaching through maybe open questioning in the first break in the game. I think the question here is the key.
And do you, if you don't mind me asking, do you find yourself more vocal at the moment, or is that something you feel you need to improve on?
Before, I definitely would have been very vocal. You would have saw me stuck in the middle of the game running around. But how can you observe when you're stuck in the middle of the game? You have to stand back, take yourself away from the game. I think that this is what works for me personally. It might work for other people being stuck in the middle of the game, but I think in that sort of busy moment in the middle of the game, if you're standing right in the middle, you can't see everything that you're looking for. You might be working on, setting up a defensive shape. That could be one of the things in the game. And how are you supposed to see it if you're stuck in the middle of it? Whereas if you're stood back, or maybe if you're lucky enough your pitch is a stand or a banking, you would probably have the perfect view then.
And also too, Aidan, if you're stuck in the middle of something, you're directing and guiding and controlling, who's making the decisions, who's guiding, and that's interesting. Okay, we'll move it on. I'm just conscious of, we'll get just setting the scene here. And again, guys, we're just asking you now to be reflective. Consider the group sizes. Okay, so think about this and think about the game-based approach, the Ringelmann effect and sofa loafing. So they say that players in a group are less productive in larger groups. They say that players are less likely to make an effort and task in bigger groups. Okay, less interaction, players hiding. So they recognize it's game-based approach, small-sided games for maximum participation and interaction. Because this is going to be key now. We want players to start thinking for themselves. Okay, so how do we give them that scenario? We'll come to this now. It's all coming together. So small-sided games, teaching games for understanding. These are the things we're looking at, because what it does, it increases practice, enjoyment, and satisfaction. You want to let's go back to why our girls play our sport. They want to enjoy what they're doing. They want to improve and develop individually and as a group. And they want to increase that relationship with yourself. Okay, here we go. Play, coach, play. We're getting to nitty-gritty before we go on to the activities. So let's see what these mean. You probably all heard this before, but hopefully, guys, it's the coach part is where we're going to go after, because it's the coaching part is really probably the difference is maybe how we go about our business in terms of the game-based approach. Okay, so when you play, we're going to show you games in a few minutes and a few ideas. Give them a simple instruction. Ensure the players understand it. Just instructions of the game. I'll show you that in a few minutes. Just give them the instructions of the game. Relate to the focus of what you're specifically looking at. Let him at it. Let him at it. Let him play. Get a feel for it and adapt it. Put yourself out. Mind your own business, was Liam Morgan said. Mind your own business. Now get out of the game. Stand and position yourself and just observe. Stand back. Observe and analyze what's going on.
Well, just on that, sorry, that's perfect. Just let them at it. Let them play. But I remember a few years ago, Ulster GA did a study, and if you're working with an under 8 and under 10, you literally have 10 seconds to explain. If you go any longer than 10 seconds, they're gone. They're thinking something else. So you have 10 seconds to, right, this is what we're doing, bang, let them at it.
And let him out. And you know what, Aidan? It could be chaos for a while.
Yeah.
But I'd rather get him going fast, let it be chaotic, and then obviously we'll go to coach in a minute, you know? So I would say keep that simple instruction. This is how we play it. Off you play, stand back, observe, analyze. So everybody coach tonight, think about your positioning. Think about where you are in the field. This will all make sense now when we go to the games. So the coachable moment. Now, this is where I spoke about earlier on about the role of the coach. We all know about game-based approach, but the role of the coach is key. Do you direct and control, or guide and facilitate? And I'll talk about what age groups this is applicable to shortly, so hold your thought on that. So do you coach what you saw? Did it resemble what was in your plan, or was it not expected in your plan? Did you challenge players accordingly by asking good questions of the group? So questions like, when you bring the group in, what was the issue in that game? Why was it an issue? What do we need to do? We're going to go back playing now in 2 minutes' time. What do we need to do better? What did you find about how you found the game? What do you do for your team? So who's finding the solutions? Who's doing the talking? Can I throw in a question, guys, if you don't mind me asking? What percentage should coaches and players be talking on a training session? Off you go. And let me know what comes in the chat here.
Yeah.
Throw it out here now. What percentage throughout a session should a coach be talking and players be talking? And I'll give you my own stat in a minute. There's no research behind this, but anyway, throw it in there. Aidan, what are people saying?
There's 30-70, 50-50, 10%, 10 for each, 50-50, 20-80, 50-50, 90-10, 80-20, coach 5%, 60-40 player, coach 30, player 70, 10% okay. Coach. Yeah.
So Aidan, what we're learning here, I suppose what they advocate is the coach should be talking for 30% of the time. The player should be talking for at least 70% of the time. So the coaching moment is where that's where you let the players solve the problems. I've coached under 8s, and I've even tried this out. It's amazing what they know. But anyway, you need a bit more direct. But anyway, I'll talk about under 10s in a minute and the age groups and stuff like that in a minute. But what did you see? So Aidan, if you don't mind me asking, if you had a game planned in your plan, right, and they played, and you know what, you're observing, it's absolutely going nowhere near where you thought it'd go, would you coach what needs to be fixed, or would you stick to your plan?
It depends. It depends on the age group, and I think the easy thing to do, you've worked all day, you've went straight from work to training. The easy thing, and I think myself included, you, William, everybody on here, would just stick to the plan. It's the easiest thing to do, but probably as I've got a bit older and I'm planning sessions a lot better, I would like to think, I'm pretty sure that I would go and try and fix the problem, or even if it means changing the session. You can have all the plan A's and B's in the order, but something could just completely
and you need to think about it is you don't need to have all the answers. So look at it here. What does that coachable moment look like? If you have two teams playing, could you not say team A, team B, go away for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, discuss what you just played. You're going back in 2 minutes time, identify how can you improve as a team, and when we come back, we'll try it again, okay? And we'll see what you learned and observe. You could do individual, and here's very important about if you want to give someone individual feedback, they always say practice what you got to say, because that's important how you come across. So things like, if I had something to positive say to someone, or someone to talk to them about what they need to work on, okay, I'd say, Joe, I think you're a very integral part of our team. There's a few things we need to still work on. What do we need to do here to make that happen? It could be player-led. You could say, guys, okay, what's the problem here? Let the players have a chat and conversation about, tell me, what's the issue? Or how do you find that game? What can we do better? Tell me. Describe to me what that's going to look like. Keep the coaching moments to a minimum, though. Keep those conversations slick. Ensure the players get the opportunity to speak. But do you see the coach? Think about your own coachable moments here now. Do you tell them, direct them, give them the answers? Or do you get them to think for themselves? Let them think about what they're experiencing Let them chat about it and let them try it in and come up with the solutions and let them play again. So let them play again. Go on. This is where the learning happens. Obviously get a bit of feedback. Say, tell me one thing you're going to do and one thing you're going to do. Now off you go, try it. Let them at it. Observe the execution of the solutions. And then add challenges if you want to. But minimize your voice. Okay, look, guys, I'm going to do one hop one solo here just to challenge you a bit further because it looks like you've got it. Okay, use buzzwords. Let's go back to that point earlier on made by that lady. And she said, who leads this? I agree 100%. If I had assistant coaches to me, I would ask them to use key buzzwords for me, and they'd be the ones who are going to use the voice through the play. And I stand back and observe. So I'd be the quiet one as coach, but my assistant coaches will be directing and leading by using buzzwords like move into space, pass the ball quickly, kick, so they're using the buzzwords. So that was a very good point I made earlier on. I just want to refer to that. So at the end of the session, you're going to check for understanding. So tell me, what did we focus on tonight? If you are faced with this scenario in a game, tell me how are we going to deal with that next time? What do you think of that game? Ask them, what do you think of the session? What do you think of the game? You're getting players to think. I'm going to be very honest with you. I've been with senior teams. When I ask players an open question, I get nothing back because they're looking at you with 3 or 4 eyes going, are you actually asking for my opinion? Are you asking me to think for myself? But in the game, let's think about Liam Morgan's point he made last Monday night. He said players don't need coaches, or coaches don't need to be on the sideline. If we generate this sort of idea, then maybe there's no need for coaches on the sideline because players will have learned in their sessions how to interact and solve problems themselves. But it's about opening questioning. Good questioning is key. I'm going to share a sample of what my own session looks like, Aidan, if you don't mind. And you can talk with her while I get it up there if you want, but I have it here. Okay, here it is. So you're probably saying to me, William, that looks great, but here's my session I did in my own club with my own girls team, say 2 years ago in the club. All right, here it is. Here's the purpose of my session here. I wrote down what will I see the players do. I wrote down what will I see me. So what am I coach? I want, if a person walked into the gate, this is what I'm going to, they'll see me doing. I was working on support play off the shoulder. I let him play. As you see there, guys, and I have no problem. I can email this to people afterwards, william.harmon@ljfa.ie if you want to look at this in more detail. I'm just going to go through it fairly fast. I let them play for 8 minutes. I observed it. Then I coach. But look, I wrote down my questions. What questions will I ask the group to get them to better understand what we're trying to achieve? Look at it there. Ask these questions. What is your job? Then we went back and played it again. Okay, so there it is. And look at the progression. I had the progression. Okay, if your teammate is under pressure, what is your job? Tell me, what is it like to have when you have no support? So I'm getting players to think about, this is a very basic 3-man weave, but it's support off the shoulder. And we did a cool down. But look also, I put down what kind of challenges could I see? How will I solve them? Okay, maybe technically they're not where they should be. So we might work a bit on our kick passing or our hand passing if that's required. Maybe the movement is not where it should be. Okay, I get them to start moving cones, or maybe I might do a simple drill without the ball to work on that. Okay, maybe the communication between players is not where it should be. So I'll come up with little buzzwords that the group will come up with that we're going to use. All I'm trying to show you is that here is what we're trying to promote in a very real scenario. I have no problem, guys, no problem at all sharing that with you after the webinar. No problem at all.
William, so, I've put in your email address there and mine as well. So if anybody needs them, they can just give us a wee shout. So
thank you very much.
There anyway.
So Aidan, before we go on to the activities, I'm going to ask people to put in the chat function. Look at this, guys, before you do it now. If you're passionate about players learning and involving them in the decision-making process, you will put real thought into your planning session, in your session planning. I showed you an example of my own session. You'll probably say that's very detailed, but I don't care who I'm coaching, whether it's under sixes or inter-county adult level. I really put stuff on paper, and I really think about the question I'm going to ask. Be honest now. Do you put the required time into your planning? Because If you need to improve it, do you think you're on the right lines? Please, guys, put in the chat function now. Yes, no, maybe I need to do a bit more on that. Please put in the chat function. Aidan, you might let me know what's coming through before we go on to the games.
I'll let you know the majority.
Thank you very much. So what we're learning here is, okay, I know you're probably coming on going, players making their own decisions, that's players. But think about the key message tonight is the role of the coach. The role of the coach in facilitating and guiding players' thinking about what they do. So we need to think about our questions, our activities. We need to what starts the conversation. What does good look like? What doesn't good look like? And how do we solve that and adapt in our sessions? Okay, Aidan, before I move on.
It looks, a lot of people, it seems the majority of people do a plan of some sort, but it seems to be that they maybe think they have to do a wee bit more.
And would you say, guys, if you don't mind me saying, put in the chat function, what is the wee bit more that you need to work on? If you don't mind me asking, if you're going to go to tomorrow night now and you're coaching the under 8s, under 10s, whatever it is, under 16s, if you were to plan, what's one thing you'll probably think about more to engage players in the decision-making process? What would it be, guys? Throw it in the chat function, please. Okay. Aidan, you can let me know if there's anything coming through there.
Yeah. Questioning is coming up a lot there, which is,
and think
which
about
is good
that.
to see.
Yeah, but think about that now, guys. Think about this. In order to get good answers, you need to plan your questions, and we're going to test you out in a few minutes now. We'll practice it. We'll see how we get on. Okay, let's get on to the activities now. Okay, you're probably saying, William, come on now. Give us a few ideas about drills and stuff. Okay, let's go. I'm going to give you a few scenarios here. So this is a progressive small-sided game. So how do we get players in our group to experience game-based approach, but different kind of scenarios in one session, right? Okay, how do we go from 1v1 to 8v8 in the same session? You're probably asking me. Right, okay. Here we go. Look in front of it here. As you see, on the left and right of your screen, there's two goals. They're the two main goals. They're like your normal under 12 goals or whatever goals you have. As you see on the outside, I have 8 mini goals. As you see, they're in different colors here, but they're cones. They're just normal cones. As you also see, I have the players paired up. I have 2 players over here on the left, 2 players. So there's 4 1v1s on one side of the pitch, another 4 1v1s on the other side of the pitch. And they all have a ball. And they grab, now if you have loads of footballs, put 5 balls to each group or 4 balls or even 3 footballs to each group, okay? And let them play 1v1. Let them play 1v1. Off you go, win the ball, take on your player, try and score a goal. Come back and get the next ball. Now, if you have loads of assistants, then they can play the ball. They can have one in each of the pitches and they can play the ball to the players. So you can have 4 assistants playing the ball on each side. Okay, right. How we progress it on? Look at this. Now we have 2v2. I've changed no cones. I've changed no goals. Now we have 2v2. So look at the team on the left here on the right in the blue cones. Now these 2 players, the 2 blues joined together. So I would give them bibs at the start. So there's 8 blue bibs, 8 yellow bibs. Okay? And there's 1 yellow playing 1 blue in the 1v1. Now it's the 2 blue joined together versus the 2 yellow. Now they have 2v2.
William, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Would you just randomly select those children, or would you make sure that the teams are going to be evenly balanced?
I'll go back to my planning. In the 1v1 scenario, I will make sure they will be 1v1 with players of similar ability. Okay? And I'll make sense of this in a minute now. Okay? So now when you go 2v2, you're going to have a situation where the 2v2 are playing against players of similar ability. Very clever in your planning, right? Now we're going to go, let's this. Haven't changed it now. Haven't changed the setup. Same goals. Now we're going to have 4v4 using 4 goals, but we're going to use the goals that are there already. Now we're going from a situation of 1v1 to 2v2 to 4v4. Haven't changed nothing. Now we go to 8v8. Now we go for 8v8. So now we use the goals on the side as the sidelines, and now we have 8v8. But that's great. That shows you a progression from 1v1 to 8v8. That's players experiencing different scenarios, different situations throughout. But now, I'm going to throw a question to you. Let's go back to what this is about. Let's do the 4v4 coachable moment. So you bring all the players in after the 4v4. In the chat function or in your mind, I want you to write in, what is a possible challenge you will see, players? So when you ask the players, okay, what is a possible problem you will see in a 4v4? So if you're observing, you're standing back now, you're watching this, and you're watching one of the 4v4s. What is a possible problem or challenge you will see happening to players? Or what will you see the players do, more to the point? Now I'm going to test you. Can you now devise a question that you're going to pose to the two teams to initiate discussion? So if you put a problem in, so if you see a problem that the players might be doing, I want you now to put in a question that you're going to ask the players or pose to the teams when they come in for the coachable moment. Off you go. If you can't put into the chat function, think about it yourself. So they play their 4v4. You're bringing them in. You identify there's a challenge. What is the challenge? Ask them what is the challenge, or what you identified yourself. Now give me a question that's going to start the conversation. Aidan, is there anything coming through?
We've had a few questions come in. How better would you use space in a bigger pitch?
Very good.
Why are some players not getting on the ball? How can we support the player on the ball?
Yes.
What worked well for your team, or what worked well for the Orange team? How many passes can we get before scoring a goal?
Yeah, but how many passes? They'll say 4. But that to me is very close. I'd say, how many passes? But tell me, if you want to get 4 passes, tell me how is that going to happen? What happens with the person on the ball? What happens off the ball? Do we all run towards the player? Does one go towards the player and one run? You have to really start to really test and ask more questions to probe more. Okay, let's go to the next one. Observation learning. So that's one technique. Let's try another game that might try. 2 teams playing, 1 team's observing. How many times, guys, do we have sessions where 2 teams are playing and 1 team is resting, and the team resting are either doing keepy uppies, they're actually having a chat about, the disco on Friday night, or they're doing everything except what they should be doing, which is thinking about when they come into play. So are they watching the activity as well? Sometimes players watch the activity. Oh, look at Mary. She's doing very well. She's a very good player, isn't she? Or are they thinking about, when we come in, what are we going to do? So what's your role as a coach in this one now? Think about this. Let the 2 teams play. Let them play away. Okay? But maybe you can link with the team observing. All right? So here it is. 4v4, small-sided. Okay, they're playing the game. If a team scores, they stay on, and the other team comes off, and the other team comes in. So whoever scores stays on. It's a real rapid game. It's really enjoyable. But tell me now, what question would you be asking the players, or what questions would you pose to the players on the sideline? Throw it into the chat function. You're the coach now. Think about, you're the coach. You want them to make better decisions when they go into the game. So what questions would you be asking the team observing the session? Off you go, guys. Throw them in. What's coming back, Aidan?
It's coming through. It's just taking a second here to.
So you're standing. So 9 times out of 10, lads, we might be inside the middle of the game, and we're going, yeah, keep it going. Well, good goal. Oh, very good. But we're missing the moment of learning. What would players? What would coaches talk? What would they say to the players on the sideline?
What's working well? What's not? How are you going to communicate well? What can we improve on? Would you focus on defense or attack? Look at your potential marker. How can we play differently to the team that's on?
Excellent.
What was good? What could we do better?
Excellent. Tell me, when you go in there now, tell me, what's one thing you're going to do differently? Tell me. Yeah. Have a chat. And what you'll see happening is the team who's not scoring will obviously, if they want to stay on the pitch, then they'll have to think differently about how they go about their business. So if they come off and they don't talk about it, then they're going to come on, they're going to lose a goal again. So you're really chatting. They're going to go, okay, guys, come on, as we want to be on the pitch all the time. Let's talk about this. Let's discuss it. And it's amazing the conversations that be had. Okay, problem solving scenario. Okay, last weekend we were 2 bunched as a forward line. How do we improve movement in the forwards? So let's go back to what we learned earlier on. The instruction is very simple. Okay, guys, We have 2v2, the 6 forwards, 6 backs here, 2 players per box. I'm going to throw the ball to the 2 midfielders outside, and we're just going to play a game. The objective is the players, whoever gets the ball needs to score. However, just to let you know, guys, one thing, you can only have 1 attacker in each square at any one time. Off you go, play. Okay, and they play. So now, tell me, in the coachable moment, you bring them in, or they go and they walk as a team, or they talk individually. What questions, what could you see happening here? So put the chat function. Think about this game now. You're standing back. What are the things you'll probably see here? What are the problems? What are the challenges? But what questions would you pose to them to get them thinking about when they go back to do it again the next time? What can they do differently? Okay. Aidan, if there's anything coming up there.
Yeah.
So this is very difficult now. You know, they now have to, their movement, what will we see happening? So tell me, what will we see the players do here probably?
Players going outside their box, being aware of the players around them, how to communicate with the other players, what stopped you getting possession, how to lose your player.
Now, just on that one, Aidan.
Yeah.
In this game, the instruction I gave the players was only 1 player can be at a box at one time. So they can go anywhere they want. I can run from corner forward to full forward if I want, but the full forward needs to get out of there. Do you get what I'm saying? So if I run from corner forward to the far right and far right to wing forward position, then you can't have 2 players. So that's the aim. They don't have to stay in their boxes. I'm saying you can run anywhere you want. Okay, now the chaos. There might be a bit of chaos. They're going, but sure, can we move? Let them think. Don't give them the answers. Give them the instruction. So, yeah, Aidan, what else is coming in there?
Lines of running, creating space in front of the goal, communication, both verbal and non-verbal. Down to communication, better communication with other players, communication.
Yeah, but the thing, Aidan, here is, and this is what coaches need to think about. They come back with, communication. But tell me, guys, what does communication look like? So, when I get into the square, I'm going to tell you, Mary, to move out, to get out, or to give me space. So you need to probe a bit more, guys. To me now, what I'm listening to here is general questions. Get more specific. Think about how to probe it more. Get a bit deeper. Stretch the players now. They know that they can go and move space and go to but you need to stretch them by asking more probing questions. So have another question on top of another question so that you're getting deeper to the level of thinking. Aidan, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, pattern-based. In a few weeks' time, we're going to go into this in more detail. We're going to look at patterns of play. But how can we get players being more creative? So you might find a situation in your stats or whatever that in every game you play, you never win the throw-in. So in the throw-in in the start of the game, and the throw-in at the start of the second half, we never win a throw-in. Right, guys. Solve it. I want you all to get together, come up with a scenario, come up with a play. Come up with a play that next week we're going to try, and let's try and win one of the throw-ins. Off you go. Be creative. Come up with a pattern. Come up with something. And the pattern could be this. Okay, one midfielder taps the ball down to the other midfielder. She kicks it straight into the full forward. The centre forward gives a bit of space, and the wing forward comes in off the shoulder and tries to score. Will it work? May not. But what are you doing? You're getting players to think about the problem. You're getting them to come up with a solution. If it works, brilliant. If not, they've thought about it, and the likelihood of success is higher. So you're creating, you're letting them off. You're giving them a problem. You're getting them to solve it. Solve it. Have a chat about it. Come back to me with a few ideas and a few scenarios. Yeah, let's try it. And I would say with these patterns, and we'll be doing this in a few weeks' time, so I'm not going into more detail. I would do this without no defenders. Practice this. Okay, we're going to do it 8 times. I'm going to throw the ball in 8 times. Let's see, can we get a score 8 times without fumbling the ball over the bar? Let's see, can the movement be synchronized? But I'd have no defenders or nothing. I'd try with 8 players, and I wouldn't tell the defenders. Say nothing to the defenders. Guys, forwards and midfielders, get together then, I'll come up with something. We'll say nothing to the defenders, and let's see, does it work? Aidan, is there anything you want to add there?
I think it's key that, I know for coaches, this could be a whole new concept of coaching, so don't let it scare you and be brave. And it's not going to happen overnight for you, and it's definitely not going to happen overnight for your players. It's going to take your players a while to adjust to this as well. Because I've sat with players and given them, right, forwards, here's, come up with something here. We need a goal at the end of the game. What are you going to do? And it could take 6 weeks for the forwards to maybe just have the confidence, because they mightn't be used to a coach, involving them in so many decisions and just be brave and stick at it, because it's going to be a whole new scenario for your players, and it'll take them a while to get used to it.
And also, Aidan, as a coach, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes time to practice asking good questions. It takes time. And there's times you need to direct in. You look, okay, this is going to take totally off center. You need to kind of give them a bit of a nudge and a bit of guidance, of course. But it takes time for everything to work. So it takes time for this sort of scenario to work on this. It took me about 10 years. And I'm still trying to get it right. Anyway.
This is great, William, because we've had a few people have put in earlier on about, you know, scenarios where maybe playing with a player down or uneven numbers in games. So it's good that we're covering this as well.
So uncertain scenarios, let's throw it in there. How do we deal with it? Okay. And with the one there, I'm going to go through the 1v4 in a minute, right? But with the one player down, I wouldn't even let the players know I took off the player. I can guarantee you they'll turn around to you and they'll go, what's going on here? They have an extra player. What are we supposed to do? I would say nothing. That's grand. Just sort it out. Okay, let's start it out. Go on, let it be chaotic for 10 or 15 minutes. Then the coachable moment will come. And they'll come in and I'll say, now guys, now you're down a player. Tell me what happened. You obviously reacted. You reacted the wrong way, number one. Number two, okay, there's a problem. What is the problem? We're down a player. Why is it a problem? Because of lack of discipline. Okay, well, how do we need to solve it? Okay, this is what we're going to do next time. Let's go back and play the game now. Think about it there for 2 minutes. You're going to play now with a player down. How are you going to react? How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to change the shape of how we play? Another one there is adversity in terms of, okay, we're going to play 3 minutes here, guys. Team A versus Team B. Team A, you're up 6 points. Team B, you have 5 minutes to get it back. And that's the only instruction I would give them. Off you go. And it'll be chaotic. There'll be forcing passes. There'll be, you know, again, go back to your plan. You'll probably see players kicking the ball under pressure for no need. You'll see rush passes. You'll see players running. But then when you have the coachable moment, ask the questions about how we're going to solve it when we go back and play it again. Obviously, you're going to give your feedback as well, but guide them and facilitate them. Here's the 1v4 to deal with that adversity. 1v1, it starts off with. You have two teams on either side, okay? If a player scores, one team from their player can come in. So it could be a 2v1 scenario. Whoever scores gets an extra player. So you keep going till it comes to 4v1. If you keep scoring, then obviously it goes down to 3v1, 2v1, back to 1v1. So you're constantly changing the scenario. Small space, big space. 1v1, more people. Okay, more condensed. How do we deal with these scenarios? In a small space, what do we do? In a big space, what do we do? Get them to think about these scenarios. It could happen in a game very easily, whereby you could find yourself in a 1v2 scenario. What do you do? Okay, what do your teammates do? Do they look at you or do they support you? What does support look like? Remembering the coaching points that you're coming across are those coaching moments. Before I finish off, Aidan, is there anything else coming through there?
No, the chat has been absolutely crazy. Well, all night there was a lot of questions came in through the presentation there. So folks, you'll get a chance to ask questions at the end. So yeah, you can put them back in and we'll put them to myself and William.
I'll just wrap up the presentation here and I'll stop the share and we can go. So a very good point made earlier on by Ollie in terms of stage of development and level of readiness of your players will determine your learning style. That's 100%. Like, you're not going to let a group of under sixes go away and talk about this for 2 minutes and come back. I think it could be chaotic. So it's vitally important at the stage of development and level of readiness. Aidan hit a very good point. It might take a while for your players to get used to this sort of coaching because they're getting to think for themselves. They mightn't be used to that. They might be so used to coaches telling them what to do, where to go, how to do that. You should be here. You should be there. Master of the skills are important. I don't care how good you are and what level you are. If you can't master the skills, you're going to find it difficult to be a good decision maker on the field. You'll be more of a decision taker. So practice at home. Practice. I always say practice the skills while moving in sessions. I would move away from linear drills. I'd practice the skills in a piggy in the middle scenario, whereby you pass and move, pass into space and move. Mastery of the skills while moving. Linear, to me, doesn't work, but that's only my opinion. But look at this, Ross 1976. Coaches should commence challenging or stretching players when their perceptual development and motor skills are approximately at the age of 10 to 11, as the brain is capable of using information. So let's go back to Ollie's point earlier on, Ollie. That kind of answers your question. I've tried these games with under 10s and it works. It works. I think any lower, you might be more challenged because they're not ready, their stage of development and their level of readiness. Could you imagine, Aidan, if you started this kind of coaching process at 10 years of age and players were used to talking about it, coming up with solutions, and never underestimate the ability of players. I'm telling you now, an under 11 and 12 would know a lot more about the game than a lot of us. Can you imagine if you started that process? Can you imagine where they're going to be when bigger challenges they're going to be faced when they come to 16, 17, 18? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I've been involved with minor and under 20 county squads in that last 4 or 5 years. And, I nearly got spoiled, and you go back in the coaching maybe an under 16 or 14 or 12 team in the club. And it took me about 6 months to get the same type of, noise out of the boys and the girls. They just weren't used to that standard of questioning. They weren't getting it at clubs, whereas we were getting maybe, a mixture of the best clubs coming in where this maybe questioning, and the players were getting a choice in the decision making of how they were setting up and playing. It was, as I said, I got spoiled. So it was great to see. It was great to finally make the breakthrough. So
yeah,
we've covered it as well. Keep on it, because it could take 6 months, it could take a year, it could take 6 sessions, it could take 1 session. It's going to be different for every club and every coach here. So just keep at it.
Keep at it. And look at here, under 6s and 8s. Do you know the game tag? Think about them. That's decision making. Do you know if you're playing under 8s there and you have a tag game, British Bulldog, whatever, they're going to be decision making in that. I'm going to go over here now because I know I'm faster than Mary, and I'm going to get to the other line here by making this decision here now. Don't underestimate the importance of those activities. Unstructured play. So like at the start of it, during your coaching sessions there, we tell the kids, don't touch the footballs. They're lovely. They're in the corner there. I would say set up your games, right? Set up your 2 pitches. As they come, let them play 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 before the session starts. Let them play football. Let them. It's like us when we were younger, guys. I just go to the street, put two of my jumpers down, and my friend would come over the wall and we play 1v1. Then my other friend would come, we play 2v1. Then another friend would come, we start playing 2v2. The same concept. Try and promote that in your sessions. So to finish off, and we open the questions in, is what are we learning? Liam Moggan, telling doesn't work. High instruction leads to short-term performance. If you want to really win a big game at the weekend, then you're going to be very direct. You're going to be very controlling your activity. You're going to be high in instruction. You want to get over that line. You need to win the game. You will probably win that game. But long-term, the retention of learning will be diminished. So it's very important. Obviously, if you want to win something the weekend, that high instruction will be higher. But long-term learning is different. Engage the group by questioning. Ted, tell me what you know about the game. Explain to me what should we do the next time. Describe to me or show me what should we do in this situation. Ted questioning. William.Harmon at ljfa.ie. I'll send you one sheet with loads of questions you could use in your sessions if you want. Change the mindset or the narrative from direct to guide. Here's an example. How many times as coaches have we told our players, don't kick the ball down there again? Why don't you change the narrative to tell me, what did you see when you kicked the ball down the line? She probably saw a player running to space, so maybe it was the right pass to give. Unfortunately, the execution wasn't right. So we work on the execution. You need to run from one corner into the center to receive the ball. Or could we not change it to show me the run you need to make in order to receive the ball in your best position? Show me. Go on. Show me in the pitch now. You make the run there and we'll look at it. You need to kick the ball further. Tell me what you need to do differently to get more distance in your kicking. So again, you're changing the narrative from directing to guiding. So now I'm going to put up a poll again. And based on the conversation and the presentation tonight, guys, which do you think now, based on that, describe your current coaching? Are you really a guiding and facilitating coach? Or are you more currently direct and controlling? So based on what you've learned tonight, reflect on your own coaching. And now I would like you to answer the question regarding same. So I'm just going to relaunch the polling. I think I must go to the next one, polling style 2. Here we go. Off you go. Off you go now. Based on tonight, based on what you learned, and really reflect now. Really reflect and be honest. Where do you stand now based on the poll tonight?
Well, apologies there. I don't know if you were speaking to me. I'm up in the sticks here and I lost Wi-Fi there, but I'm back.
You're okay. You're all right. That's interesting, guys. So keep going, guys. Reflect on your own coaching. Keep it going. We're nearly 80% into the vote. Keep it going. Excellent. Well done. Okay, Aidan. So it's looking like 60-40. So that's interesting now. That went from 40, say 50, or sorry, what I saying, 45-55. So now a lot of people are reflecting, going, you know what? Maybe it's an area I need to work on. So that's interesting. Okay. And hopefully, if you're doing it currently, hopefully we're giving you good ideas on how to even progress it on. So to finish off at the last few slides is Aidan's points were made. Just reflect on your current coaching practice. We would advocate, guys, maybe get a coach, and Elaine Morgan said this the last day, maybe get a coach to observe your session the next time we get back on the field and give you feedback. Ask him what kind of questions. Tell him, could you look at my session and look at the questions I'm asking? Could you let me know how much I'm talking and directing and how much of the players? Could you let me know what kind of time I give the activities? Get the feedback. Ask players about your coaching style. Does it promote that engagement? Are they feeling empowered? Ask them. Don't be afraid of what you hear. They might say, we have no chance to give feedback. You're directing too much. You're talking too much. That's okay. Listen to that. If you feel change is required, go for it. And Aidan hit that all night. Go for it, guys. Give it a lash. Ask those open questions. No one knows you're making a mistake on yourself. So we might as well go after it. Surround yourself with like-minded people who want to develop, improve, and try new ways. So that's important. Surround yourself with the right people. Take home message. Tell me I forget. Show me I remember. Involve me I learn. But in order to involve me, you need to ask the right questions. In order to ask the right questions and get the right answers, you need to make sure that they are very specific and probing. So what I'll do is I'll stop the share. Could people, if you don't mind, while we just stop the share, in the chat function, could you put in what's one thing differently you'll do as a result of tonight's webinar? And if you have any questions, put them in the chat function. We'd love to listen to you. So thank you very much. I'm going to look at the Q&A as well. I just want to see here if you
There's
came
four questions in the Q&A, 5 maybe.
Yeah, in the current COVID situation, you said, how do you start that? By asking players, what way would you like us to play? Tell us, what areas do we need to work on? Okay, how are we going to achieve that as a group? Ask the questions. Virtually, you can do that. Send out an open questionnaire, send out a Microsoft Forms, do a Zoom session. Keep asking questions. Could you see any problems because of the difficult times, keeping distance, lack of space of training? Discuss. End up in a small group. And so I'd be saying with the current, because you need to keep distance, we're actually advocating you keep distance, stand back, observe. So maybe, the current times might promote that, because how many times are we on top of the game? How many times are we directing, controlling what's going on? Is it important to have the blood rate up before the whole session? The fitter you are, the more enjoyable it is. Yeah, Frank, if players are active, they're getting fitter. If players are standing around, they won't get fitter. Simple as that. It's simple as that, planning, making sure that those groups are in smaller numbers. Now, you can get all the physical aspects in a small sided game, those short sprints, those longer runs. Players can get fit by playing the game, which is more important. Yeah, Brian, I'll send you on my session. It's william.harmon@ljfa.ie. When should you stop rotating players at underage in positions? I would say you go up to at least under 12. Keep rotating players and keep trying out, even into under 14, and then they'll get a niche of where they want to play. But I would say keep trying that as up to under 12 at least. Keep trying that. Would you find a conflict in a team? Arguments, bad morale? Depends on the players. That goes back to knowing your panel, your team. That goes back to planning. You know your players. You know who to put together. But if you create an environment and it's open and honest, I think you're going to create a better morale. Aidan, is there anything else coming in there you want to answer?
No, well, I think you're covering it all. It's just I think it's massive as well that don't be the big bad coach or the big bad manager. Try and develop a rapport with every girl there, even if you have 30 girls and this girl is currently number 30. You don't know how she could turn out come under 14, 16 minor, or even keeping her involved in the club. She could go on and be chairperson. She could go on and be secretary, PRO. So it's so important to keep developing a rapport. Even chat about anything that's not football, work, exams, university, whatever it is, just develop a rapport with each and every one of your players or as best you can, because the more girls we keep playing, the better it's going to be.
How long do you play small side games, Karen? Karen, keep it to about 8 minutes. But again, play it as long as they have time, Karen, to get a feel for it, get an opportunity to adapt it. So give it enough time. You will be able to gauge. I'd say no more than 10 minutes. I'd say even less, 8 to 10 minutes. But I would always say play the game until they've kind of got a grasp of what the game's about, that they're able to adapt. So Karen, play it long enough that they get a feel for it and that you can observe appropriately. Yeah, so I answered that one there. William.Harmon at ljfa.ie. Yeah, that's basically it. I don't know, Aidan, is there anything else coming up there in the chat? I think I've answered all the ones that are coming through the actual Q&A. So
yeah, a few people are looking to see can the presentation be sent out, William, but I know
basically what will happen, guys, look, we've recorded a webinar, so it's available there on the YouTube channel tomorrow, guys. Look back at it, the slides are available, so hopefully that'll be of benefit to you. Okay. So Aidan, I don't know, do you want to say anything before we wrap it up?
no, well, I think really actually encouraged by what's gone into the chat and what the coaches have said tonight, because it's clear to see that there's a lot of very good coaching going on out there. I know we were maybe worried this morning a wee bit when we were talking, but it looks to see we've had, I think, 260 at our max tonight, and some of the stuff that went in has been absolutely brilliant. So it's good to see ladies football in a strong place around the clubs in Ireland.
A great place, Aidan, a great place. And thank you, Aidan, for your interaction tonight. Thank you, everybody, for your interaction tonight. As I say, my name is William Harmon. My email is william.harmon@ljfa.ie if you want any of the session planners, or even a few sample questions, or I'll put you in the right direction on where to probably source good material regarding this area. But involve players, build a rapport. When you build a rapport, you'll develop players and you improve players. You'll help them achieve their goals. But by engaging them, by having conversation, by having debate, they get players to think for themselves. And then when it comes to match day scenario, they may be able then to probably solve the problems rather than looking to the sideline all the time. And maybe we might be able to achieve Liam Morgan's vision, that maybe the coaches don't have to be on the sideline. You can then observe the games from the stands and let the players at what they should be at, which is playing football. So on that note, Aidan, thank you very much for your time.
No problem, William. Thank you.
We're back again in a few weeks' time, looking at the tattle and looking at also patterns of play. So we look forward to engagement there again. So thank you very much.